Hi, everybody. Welcome. My name is Terry, and this is Dr. Gail. And this channel is called Galactic Gaia, where extraterrestrial wisdom meets human healing. And today we are pleased to announce that Gail Lynn is here. Um, oh, I'm going to announce it again here. And Gail Lynn is here to help us talk to us about sound and light healing. So you're an author, you have a documentary that you've made, and also an inventor, so and healer as well. Yeah, so excited to have you here, Gail.
Thank you for having me. It's going to be fun.
Yes, I'm so excited. Of course, I'm the fangirl bringing you on because I'm so excited about what you do. And I discovered you probably about at least 5 years ago, and I'm so interested in your work. But I looked at it, but at that time, my pursuit was to go in a different direction, which led me to move to Mount Shasta and, of course, working with the extraterrestrials. But I'm so excited because I was learning all about your harmonic egg, and I used it while I was in Mount Shasta because there's one there. And so I've had the opportunity to use it. Now, I live in North Carolina now, and probably the closest one to me now is in Myrtle Beach, probably about an hour and a half away. So, but it's excited that everybody has access to it. They're all over the world. And so anyway, go ahead, Gail. Sitting there talking about, I'm almost sitting there fangirling.
Well, I'm a fangirl of yours. Ever since I saw you on Hayden's podcast, I was just like, oh my gosh, I would love to know this lady. I'd love to be friends. So I'm fangirling on you too. And the harmonic egg to me was a download from source. And I feel like I've been doing this work for 3,000 years. I remember a shaman came into my center one day and said, you need to be inventing something. I was like, women don't invent things. I came from the automotive industry, and she just slapped me right across the face. And she's like, what? I was like, oh my gosh, that is a stuck story in my head. Women don't invent things, because I spent the late 80s, early 90s in automotive. And she was like, no, you're going to invent something. I'm like, girl, I don't want to be a teacher. I have teachers. I don't want to be the guru. I look up to gurus. And she said, okay, I'm just telling you what my guides are telling me. And so I said, okay, I need to get a past life regression. I need to figure out, what am I supposed to be doing? I don't want some crazy, amateur regressor telling me, oh, you were a dancer in China. Okay, great. That doesn't help me at all. So I called Norm Shealy, rest in peace. He is a medical doctor who does a lot of stuff about energy medicine. But I called him up. I said, okay, I need the best past life regressor, past life reader in the world. And he says, well, I'm second best. And I go, well, I'll take it. So I flew to Springfield, Missouri to meet him. He's just lovely, a lovely man. And it was such a funny trip. It was just so many stories happened on that trip.
Well, I'm curious for who number one is.
He said he passed away. He was in California, but I don't remember the name. So he's no longer. So both of them are passed away. So now I don't even know who the best would be. I used to work with a guy in Arizona, William David, or Elias de Mohan. He changed his name, and he was amazing.
Now, I work with Barbara Lamb because she specializes in extraterrestrials.
Oh, nice. Okay. I loved it. And he said, and I'm a Scorpio and a stellium in Scorpio. I'm an engineer, so I'm always in my head. And I know he was ready to slap me one silly. And he kept saying, what do you see? And I was telling him, and I kept saying, am I making this up? And I know he just wanted to just punch me. And finally, I got it. I was in Egypt. I could see my shoes. I could see my clothes. I could see people in my life currently that had helped me, that were my children back in Egypt about 3,000 years ago. I could see why I stopped doing it. I could see the betrayals, which I have carried over into this lifetime, with people betraying me, people from stealing from me. And I keep playing those stories over. I got to feel those stories. I got to let them go, because it's time for me to heal from all that. And I said, oh, and he said, what's your name? And I said, the name was Anna, yada, yada, yada. And I started crying. And he said, finally, like, you got it. I said, okay, now I know what I need to do. Thank you very much. Hugs, goodbye. And the rest is history. So the egg came through. And I knew back in 2007, 2008, that we needed to be working on our nervous systems. We needed to be resetting our nervous systems, the vagus nerve, the autonomic nervous system, the sympathetic, the parasympathetic, the HPA axis, which is the hypothalamus, pituitary, adrenals. Kind of all the same thing where everybody's talking about is dysregulated. We need to come into balance. And I believe that when our bodies are in balance, they're so magical and they can heal themselves naturally. But when we're stuck in fight or flight, and we're taking all these medicines and we're jamming down supplements and we're eating processed food and we're worried about our partners and our jobs and paying our bills and the taxes and our kids and all this stuff, we can't be in balance. So then disease happens, we get angry, and so I know that the harmonic egg is resetting the nervous system. And I used to believe that the body would get disease from 5 reasons: inflammation, stress, fatty liver disease, autoimmune or immunity issues, and what's the last one? Heavy metals. But then doctors started talking to me and they said, okay, Gail, how come the body's not detoxing the heavy metals? I don't know. How come the body's not fighting off this virus? I don't know. How come the body, how come you can't deal with stress better? It's not your task list. It's your nervous system. When the nervous system is in balance, you just flow and everything's fine and your body's detoxing and everything's magical because our bodies are magical. So we tested the harmonic egg with like 200 heart rate variability tests. And I told the doctor, I said, listen, how many people would I have to return their money if they didn't see an improvement in their ANS? And she says, none. I go, no, Denise, how many people do I have to return their money? She's like, none. I said, okay, you're telling me that everybody has an improvement in their nervous system after the egg? Yes. Oh, okay. So that's the superpower of the egg, is resetting the nervous system and helping the body come into balance. And it doesn't happen in one session, but as you do it and retrain your body, then your body can say, this is what we're supposed to be doing. This is how it should feel to live on planet Earth as a human being.
Sounds great. Go ahead, Teri.
I was just going to ask out, does this reset the vagus nerve? And also, is this like, then is there other therapies involved, like talk therapy, cognitive therapy?
Okay, so I don't want to insult anybody. For me, talk therapy just pushed it further into my cells.
Yeah.
It made me relive it, and it was so irritating to my nervous system. So I love deep breathing. I love meditating. I just started trying Tai Chi, and that has been beautiful for me. I did Kempo karate for a while. I did kickboxing. I did sparring. I did circuit training. I used to work out like a crazy person. But once I reset my nervous system, I was more toned. I was more in shape. I felt better. And I asked one of my mentors, I said, why is it that I worked out 6 days a week? Now I'm not working out at all and I'm in better shape. I feel better. He said, because your nervous system is in balance. Beautiful. So we didn't have 24-hour fitness way back when there wasn't this much stress. We didn't have a fitness center on every corner. And I said, oh, yeah, that makes sense. So just started to try to stay in balance, and the weight was just easy to keep off. Everything was working when I was in balance. And of course, I'm running an international business right now, so it's really hard to stay in balance. Thank God for the egg that I have in my house, and I use it every week. I love it.
I was going to ask you, Gail, going, okay, here's this person talking about being in balance and no stress and this and that and the other, basically being nice and zen about everything. And yet she's running this company, which that comes with so much stress just in itself, just even just the little things like bookkeeping and advertising and all the things that go along with running a business. How do you counteract that? But you're telling me you got an egg in your house and you get it in once a week, but there's got to be more that you're doing than just that, I think.
Yes. It is so stressful, and I want to quit on a weekly basis because, people are stealing my trademark. People are just stealing my music. People are, a lot of the healers don't understand you don't buy a CD and play it for your clients and charge them money and not pay the musician, because you're actually out of integrity. And people don't understand this. So yes, it's super stressful. I have a horse. That is my ET on my property. And I have 2 kittens that found me. They're cats now, but they're my world. And so my horse and the cats, they get snack at 8 o'clock. They get a snack at 10 o'clock. They get snack at 1 o'clock. They get 4:30 and then night check. So I'm out there grounding with my horse, which you guys know horses are so magical. And my horse is she was human before, I believe. And she came here as a horse because she wanted that life instead of the human life, but she wanted to support me. So a lot of times I'm with other horses or other people and she's like, oh, horse, yuck, stay away from me. And then she gravitates to the girl talk, the girl time. Like you'll see her head in there with a circle of girls. And she's like, yeah, I'm a girl too, right? I'm cool. And she's amazing. And it's my cats, they're amazing. I give them hugs and love them. They're supposed to be feral barn cats, but I'm squeezing them and loving them and hugging them. Okay.
And that's one of my other questions. And I just thought about it because I thought about it right before we came on the show. There's nothing better than a purring cat, nothing more soothing than a purring cat. But then there's those people who have these allergies. I mean, just put one on your chest and just let their purr go with your heartbeat. That's just amazing. But there's so many people who have allergies to cats that they can't have that benefit. So, that's kind of a whole area that we could go into also is, why is that? Because I do think the cat purr is very much of a healing apparatus that a lot of us benefit from. There's so many who cannot.
So let me just say, I was allergic to hay. My allergy test when I was 4, because I got rushed to the hospital when I was 4, because I picked dandelions for my kindergarten teacher. My mom put me in school when I was 4, and I ended up in the hospital. So I had allergies to grass, weeds, hay, like any kind of mold, mildew. I was allergic to cats and guinea pigs. My brother got a guinea pig and I was like, oh, it's so cute. And my neck swelled up like crazy. So we had to take it back to the pet store. He hated me forever. I'm not allergic to anything anymore. I think balancing the nervous system, people say, oh, I got this nervous system. I got allergies, nervous system. I got little black chin hairs, nervous system. I got PCOS, nervous system. I got Parkinson's, nervous system. It's just almost the cap answer anymore. I read a lot. I started studying Wayne Dyer way back in the 90s, and I'm 55 now, and I've had many people that I've studied, and everybody got me to this where I am today. But I know at one point it was everything's Epstein-Barr virus. Everything goes back to that. But then why didn't the body fight off the virus? Nervous system.
Right.
Everything's heavy metals. Oh, nervous system.
I know that's so funny that you keep going to nervous system because, I'm a chiropractor and that's the whole thing we studied was the nervous system and how it innervated all the organs and joints and how it had to be, we called it subluxation, that we have to put the nervous system back in place for that organ or bone or joint or whatever gets it, the nerve energy. I'm getting ready to use these chiropractic terms, which I shouldn't, which is getting all the things to it. And so I think there's some combination maybe we're supposed to be figuring out maybe because my background is, of course, I was medical, so I know how we look just at the organs and the individual place where it hurt. And then I went to chiropractic school and I learned how to look at the body as a whole. Then coming into energy, where I was looking at the chakras, which have a big part of it that I usually work with, and your auric field. So it was all a combination of that has brought my stuff together. And I'm feeling like you're adding to. I'm hearing a sound. You're adding to a lot of that. I'm going, is that my dog? My dog's sitting right there. And just wondering if that was her making some weird noise.
Well, the nervous system is key, and we're all different galactic beings. So not one of us is going to heal the same. So for me, I do yoga 3 times a day for 10 minutes, but now I started the Tai Chi. So it's Tai Chi, yoga. and deep breathing, spending time in nature. Those are what works for me. Water. I have to go to water. I live in Denver, Colorado right now, but I have to go to water a couple times a year. So my boyfriend knows I'm going to take Gail to some water. So it's 2 places that we go every year, and I just need my water time. And so I love that helps balance my nervous system. We're going to have to find what works for us. So everyone needs to find what works for them. Like people say, oh, cancer's being killed with 111 hertz. Okay.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. If that worked for everybody, then why aren't we doing it? But it's not true, because if your body, Gail, your body's probably vibrating at 700-800 hertz already because of what you do and how you communicate. And I know I go up and down because I'm a Scorpio. I can get angry and my little stinger comes out. I'm like, oh, Gail, stop doing that. So I drop down to 200 hertz and I don't feel very good. I'm like, I got to get back up to my 800 hertz. Well, I wouldn't use 111 hertz for anything because that's not going to be resonant with my body. So when I created the music for the egg, I looked at the waveforms of instruments and how did they affect the organs of the human body. And so that's kind of how I created all the music. And then I use the chakra colors. So inside the egg, you get sound and light and vibration. And Gail, you and I talked about the smells. We have to work on the smell part because my trees talk to me. The trees love the smells that I've brought to this property. I have 66 trees on my property, which I love them all. And the trees, I put the horse poop in a trash can by one of the pine trees. And it came to me and said, thank you so much. Like, this is a new experience for me. I love smelling horse poop. And I was like, the trees are telling me they love smelling horse poop. I didn't know trees could smell, but they do. They can absorb odors and everything. So it's a different kind of nose that they have. My cats talk to me all the time. I had some issues going on and my cat came to me in a dream and it was so cute. This was like 2 nights ago. And he's my little man. He's the only boy, in my little clan, my little family here. So he's the man of the house. He came to me in a dream and all his bones were hanging out. And I picked him up and one bone fell out. There was no blood. I stick the bone back in. He's like, I'm fine. And so when I started thinking about what did this dream mean, it's like I have so much stress in my life. I'm falling apart, but I keep saying I'm fine. Mm. And I was like, thanks, little brother, because that's what I needed to know. Because I don't want to be the wounded healer. So many healers get sick and they take on other people's energy and they're so lovely and they're so brilliant, but I don't want to be that. I want to be the healthy healer.
Right. We all want to be the healthy healer. And it is a process to get there, to be that healthy healer and not to take on all that. But do you want to go a little bit more into the smell? Because we had this big discussion behind the scenes before it even came on about how I was getting all these downloads about how important we're kind of missing the smell. And it came from working on the spaceship, the Athena, which is one of the spaceships I work on, probably the largest one. I'm not working there now. I do visit it, but that there's so many different extraterrestrial groups that work there and we stink to each other. So they have this aromatic neutralizer that they call it that goes through the whole spaceship so we don't smell each other. But then what else came about this? It was during meditation. What else came out was the fact that we are attracted to things that aren't good for us smell-wise. Whatever disease or process that's going on in our body, could be cancer, could be autoimmune, that for that to grow and stay healthy in our body, the bad thing healthy in our body, we are attracted to smells that are bad for you. For example, we're attracted to fried chicken, we're attracted to French fries, and those kind of things make us go over and eat them, which feeds those bad cells. And so as I was telling Gail, I was going, I hate bringing out a problem without an answer. I always hate doing that, but she came up with all these beautiful answers. So Gail, I'll let you take it from there.
Thanks a lot, Gail. No, but because I was having some of the same downloads. I went to a restaurant recently and we walked into the restaurant and they had air fresheners going. I'm like, oh my God, if you smell it, your liver's got to process it and absorb it. I'm like, oh, this is not good. Plus the eating experience while there's the air freshener is crazy.
Yeah.
So we were talking about this before we hit record. We have childhood memories. So say we were smelling fried chicken when, my dad was an alcoholic and they were always fighting and my dad would leave and it was just so stressful in our house. Maybe we were having fried chicken the day that they didn't argue and my dad wasn't drunk. It would be that felt so safe. So fried chicken is always a smell that makes me feel a safety. So maybe we were eating French fries when we fell in love with somebody. And so the French fries make me feel in love. We have to find ways to replace those smells. Now, a lot of people are using essential oils right now, which are beautiful, but a lot of essential oils are toxic. And so we have to look at everything, supplements, everything that we put into our body is energy. Where did the energy come from? What is that energy? And so when we're talking about, we can replace that safety of fried chicken smell with something else. And I just wanted to say that about the toxic smells. We don't want to put a Glade air freshener in our house because that's toxic. But we might have remembered that from our grandma's house. So we walked into grandma's house and it smelled like Glade air freshener. And grandma was always so lovely and cooking cookies for us and feeding us ice cream. And it was so fun. But replacing those smells and looking for sacred oils and oils that are processed with love and integrity. And so we talked about the Sahu oil, sacred oils and Julia Rose botanicals. Those are oils that I know are safe and they're harvested properly and the people have so much love around them. So you might want to say, okay, I want to feel what it felt like when my dad wasn't drunk and my mom and dad weren't fighting. And I'm going to replace that smell with rosemary, or I'm going to replace that smell with lavender, and flip the script as to why we're attracted to unhealthy smells, and then replace them with that emotion of something healthy.
Great answer.
Yeah.
But I did add to that probably we might need some external help or help like from a shaman or somebody to help us replace that trauma smell with something else. Some of us probably can bring in our higher selves and do that. Others might need some extra help. I might need some extra help.
Therapy.
Can't imagine getting rid of liking those smells.
You can do hypnotherapy too. Just get, hypnotized and then they can replace that. That would be really good. That just popped in.
Yeah, that would work too. I was thinking about maybe when those wounds are being healed, maybe being replaced at that time. So
absolutely,
probably a whole journey on that and a new discovery and a whole new other area to go into. So Teri, do you have anything on that?
Yeah, I like the shaman idea, and I like the idea of just bringing in our high self. I think a journey with our future self or your present self, better yet, walking in and saying, hey, try this, kid. But yeah, it's funny how we have those smells, like opening up a Barbie doll when we're kids, right? And it's plastic. And it's like, it's got to be toxic. So
all those carcinogens is coming out into your liver. Yeah, but you got a new toy.
Yeah.
Yeah. New car smell.
Yeah. Oh gosh, I cannot stand new car smell, and I love it, but I can't. I know how bad it is, and so when I get a new car, I leave the windows open in the garage for weeks. I'm like, get rid of this smell. It's the benzenes and the carcinogenics and the off-gassing and the plastic. I actually had a client in.
I was going to say, you would know since you were in that business.
Yeah. There was a child in the egg one time, and sometimes the egg will detox you, and I smell it. Oh. And I asked the parents, I said, did you guys just get a new car? And she's like, how would you know that? I'm like, your kid smells like new car. And she's like, oh my gosh, that's really bad. So it does. It absorbs in our bodies, and our bodies want to get rid of it.
So, so that's a good way to get rid of those things. So I'm wondering, and this question being put out there, do we need to do some trauma work for this all to process or take a hold better or detox easier? Or what is your thought on that, Gail?
So you mean for doing an egg session and then the follow-up?
Any of it, yes.
So it depends on the modality, because I don't want, like I said, I hate criticizing or bringing things to light that people are like, oh my God, I can't believe she said that. But there's a lot of healers that are wounded. And when we go see them, we're absorbing as empaths their fear, their hate, their anger. And then you leave there feeling, hateful and angry. And you're like, this is not me. So we have to ask ourselves, is this mine? And so we have to also find the healers that are healthy and that are neutral that can support us. So if you go to a healer that you absorb all their anger, then yeah, you need more help. There's now new consistent and repeatable processes like the Harmonic Egg, and there's other machines and modalities that don't hold information or energy because they're not human. So they don't have the emotions. They didn't get cut off in traffic. They didn't get a divorce. They're not, their kids aren't, acting up. And so they're not bringing that to their healing session. But there are beautiful healers who can be neutral. And I've met some of them where, they're down here and all their drama and trauma, they come here to meet you, work on you, and then they go back to where they are because they can stay neutral. There are also healers that you're here and they're up here. And if you can't come up to where they are, you're not going to get any healing from them because they don't know how to come down to meet you where you are. So yeah, I think things like doing the Harmonic Egg, if you find that you can't process through the emotions and the traumas that coming up to, and because trauma will come up, but normally you can process it through your dream state. Normally you can process it through just talking to the practitioner, the egg guardian that has the egg. And there are centers and wellness places and healers that can help you process through everything from that session. So it's, again, there is no one size fits all, but I think these consistent and repeatable modalities that are consciously created. You were on a podcast recently, Gail, and there was a guy named Doug that came on talking about quantum healing. And, everybody's going to be different and they're going to process things differently. And so he made some good points about, how the quantum conscious technologies and quantum engineering kind of help support people. So I think the egg is a conscious technology that came through. And I think that there are ETs in there. I know that there's Sirians. I know there's Andromedans. I know there's Arcturians. I've not heard that there are Palladians that come through, but they help you process. And
I'm amazed that you say that because that's us who I work with a lot as Arcturians, especially the Arcturians and also a lot of the hybrids. But I do not work with the Palladians that much. And the main reason why I don't work with the Palladians is because they have their own modality on their spaceship, which is called the med beds. And that's the Palladian energy that comes from there. And so what I'll do is the med beds are there for everybody to go up and work with the Palladians. So that works with that. But I'm over here doing different things and so are you. So that's why.
Yeah, I'm more Syrian. And what I've realized and what I've, kind of tuned into over the years is the Palladians are more warlike and it's harsher. And so the Syrians are very powerful, but gentle. The Arcturians, same, powerful, but more gentle. And the Palladians are more, it's just harder. That's just what I've tuned into.
Right. So it's not exactly harder. They're not at the same vibrational level as the Arcturians. They're above humans, Palladians, but they're not at the levels of Arcturians, Syrians, and Andromedans.
Yeah, interesting.
That's the difference. Yes.
That is so cool because sometimes I don't even have words. Like the eggs have told me, my Syrian family have told me, if you try to put human words to the egg, you're going to negate it because there aren't any. Right. I was like, well, then how do I talk about it? We don't know. We're not all telepathic yet. So I'm like, how do I communicate it? They're so funny and they just make me laugh so much. And they have helped me so much. So the people and the guardians that are part of the egg community do help the people inside. I had one guy go in, he said, my dead dog came to me and licked me in the cheek and it felt real. And he almost looked to see if it was wet.
I had the same thing happen to me with my dog, licked me on my cheek.
Yeah.
And she had passed away.
They bring through things to help you in the human form to master your emotions and to help you to release the trauma in a healthy, supportive way.
Right. That was great having you here, Gail, discuss all these kind of issues. Teri, do you have anything that I can see your brain just clicking away?
Well, yeah, it's going, but I didn't want to interrupt the stream of thought because it's lovely. I love that you talked about the horses because my daughter had a horse and Silhouette, and our trainer always said that it was she was an AT, and she definitely was, and she disappeared one day, and there were no tracks, there were no tire marks or anything, and she wasn't on the property, so It was just like
she was
gone.
Wow.
Yeah.
So
it was really beautiful. But and Gail, you were talking about the purring sensation.
Yeah.
And I do feel like that's kind of like the heartbeat of the earth almost, that power of that. But a horse leaning into you, a horse hug is just it's so amazing.
Yeah, my horse is so galactic. And so people see me with her and they're like, look, Gail's with the unicorn. I'm like, yeah, that's my unicorn. She was in my documentary, and I told the filmmaker, I said, listen, she's pretty stubborn and she only does things once. And when she shows you, she does it. She's not a circus horse. She'll just be like, I'm not, whatever. So I had this big ball and I said, okay, you guys better get this on film. She'll push it. And then she'll say, okay, look, I did it. I'm done. And so he said, have her do it again. And I said, she's not going to do it again. And she did it over and over. Like, she knew, I have to do this because it's part of what the film is. This is what my mom wants. And even when little kids come over, I always say she'll probably push the ball once. And then the kids are pushing it back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. I'm like, she doesn't do that for me. She says, oh, I can do it. Here, I did it. Done. So she knows when she's on, and she knows when she's supposed to be the star. She's so cute.
I love that. Can you talk a little bit more about the different instruments and where they help our bodies?
Sure. We've been using sound healing for 40, 50, 60,000 years. I think they've logged it back to the Aborigines with the didgeridoo about 40,000 years ago. And it got suppressed. It's like these suppressed inventions because there's really no money to sitting in the sun or, bathing under blue light. There's not a whole lot of money that Big Pharma can make from that. So I read this book called Sounding the Inner Landscape by Kay Gardner. She passed, I believe, in 1998, but I believe she was a very, probably alien, probably galactic. I almost feel like her family thought she was just a little bit wacko. I don't know, but it feels like her family was like, she was just the crazy black sheep of the family, and we don't know what she did. But her book was so influential for me, showing the waveform of a flute that's very simple. And when I would put flute music into the egg, then people would say, God, I felt all this pain in my right side. I'm like, that's where your liver is. And then when I would put piano music on, which had a different waveform, like almost like an EKG, I would see that people would be calmer, or they would be anxious because their parasympathetic wanted to come into balance with their sympathetic. So it would create some anxiety because that trying to, balance, and the body was like, oh no, I can't lose control. The ego is in charge and I don't want to get into that rest and digest. And then I started seeing drumming helping, like the square sine wave drumming helping the root chakra. So people with knee issues, eye issues, anything with survival, taste, sense of smell, hearing. And it's like, this is amazing. Okay. So I saw 20,000 people. So I was able to really log all this information and say, okay, if I can create a piece of music with guitar and flute, that's going to help with sugar cravings because those two instruments will do this. And so all my protocols, all the songs we create have song sheets. It tells you, hey, it was created in the key of B, which helps the nervous system. It's created in the key of C. It'll help the heart, large muscles, root chakra. It's created in the key of E. It'll help the lungs. And so I've started studying all this with Ani Williams, teaching me about when your voice is missing a tone, you can have ailments. I was like, no, that can't be true. So I
I
turned
want to stop you there because I want to go a little bit more into her with the missing tones. What was her name again?
Ani Williams. She is my teacher, my mentor. I think, there's a lot of people talking about this, but I believe that she has the answers that resonate with me. Ani Williams.
And how do we find her?
AniWilliams.com.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And she's in Sedona, right?
She has lived in Sedona. She's in France now.
Okay.
Yes. And I think she's absolutely brilliant. She's a harp player and she plays didgeridoo and she has her own music. But other people have been on, Facebook and TikTok saying, the key of E is this and and it didn't resonate with me. But when I was able to common sense explain it, because when you're looking at the key of C and the root chakra and red, I was able to explain it really well with the zodiac signs, and Leo is the key of E, and what Libra is the F sharp, and what Scorpio is G. And so I was really able to explain it that there's nobody else that I trust with this information.
Okay.
Just tuning into it and also testing in on my clients.
I was going to say, well, what about you? What were you missing? Or did you find
I was missing my Scorpio sign. So when I came onto the planet, I was missing the G and I was missing C. So a lot of root chakra stuff, because I went from automotive to telecom to Hollywood, almost had a nervous breakdown, almost died, and then I got into healthcare. I've always been an overachiever. I've always been high. I want to impress everybody. I have to prove myself. And I was the firstborn child. My mom kind of, created that situation. But I came into this life for her to teach me and for her to be there so that I could be this person and run a business and help people to heal. So I was missing a couple. And then Ani said, when she did my session after the egg, she was like, wait a minute, you're not missing anything. Like, not very many people aren't missing anything. Like, you're low in a couple things, but you're not missing anything. So we decided that the egg is helping to replenish the tones. Okay. Because there's no other explanation. I was missing them before the egg, and then I wasn't missing them after the egg.
Right. Okay. That's interesting. And that's actually an interesting area that she's gone into.
Exactly.
And you probably can't learn that. She probably came in here already knowing that, to hear somebody's voice and know what's missing from it.
Right. And gosh, there's so much I want to say about this because it's so important, I think. And I have people who are missing the key of E. They had asthma and lung issues. It's like, oh my gosh, this is so crazy. So a lot of people will do a voice analysis and say, just count from 10 to 0 or 1 to 10. I don't believe you can get the missing tone or tones from that simple of a test. She actually records you while you're speaking about your childhood trauma, about your mom, about your friends. And then if you have a pain, she has you give it an audible voice. And then she has you give an audible voice to if that pain wasn't there. And that's when the missing tone is like present, like it's gone because you visualized that the pain's not there. It's just crazy how she does her testing. So she's the only one that I trust with it. Well, then I had her test my boyfriend, which was hilarious. So what I was low in, he was high in. So he was actually balancing me.
So you made a match that way.
Yeah. Yeah. And I was like, wait a minute. I know we all influence each other. And I think the whole 6 feet of social distancing was the energetic field. So we weren't sharing our energies. And there was something conspiracy theory about that. But I love people. I love to help the humans. I'm a bit of an alien, of course, and I love to help the humans. And there was a time that I said, I don't want to come back. And who was it? Debbie Solaris did a reading on me. She came over to my house and did an egg session, and we kind of traded. And she said, you don't have to come back. And you probably will about 500 years from now, but you don't have to come back. But at this point, I would be more than happy to come back and help the humans again.
Well, I want to go into the galactic part of you, since that is the basis of, I mean, we're streaming to 3 different channels, and I don't know if everybody knows that we're streaming to Teri's channel, Holding Your Space. We're streaming to the channel we share together, Galactic Gaia, which is the healing channel. And we're streaming to my channel, which is all about aliens or extraterrestrials, which is Skywalking with Moon. And so now we want to get into that part. Gail, can you tell us about the galactic connection you have?
So I didn't really know what my galactic connection was, and I met some Arcturians, and what is it? Oh, is it? Who does the Hathors? Is it Eric? I can't remember his name. He writes a book about the Arcturians.
Yeah, because Teri and I did a show about the Hathors.
Yeah,
the women that wear the cow horns. The goddess. Yeah.
I had people come into my center all the time. Of course, when you're running a large wooden egg, you're going to get a lot of different people that come in that are going to try it, that are a little bit, some people would think they're weird. And I had this guy walk in one day and he goes, "Well, hello, Hathor." I was like, "What is a Hathor?" And he, and I know a lot of people say Hathor, but with the Egyptian in their language, I don't think they pronounce the TH as a th.
Oh,
but if you think about it,
I've always pronounced it Hathors.
Well, think about, I'm going to say Hathor and I'm going to say Hathor. Oh. Hathor sounds so much more powerful to me.
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
But anyway, so I was corrected by the pronunciation of it.
We do our show, Teri.
Yeah.
Right. We're going to have to.
Words are so powerful, and it's so fun. But Hathor, I was like, what the heck? And he said to me in 2000 and probably 10 or 11, he said, if you could see what I see in your future, you wouldn't worry another day in your life. But I'm a worrywart, and I'm way better than I used to be, but I didn't really know who I was. So I started studying all these different galactic.
Is that how you found Hayden Crawford?
Yes.
That's how I found him also.
Yeah, he's amazing. I love him. So I was in the egg when it was just a prototype. And I had a guy who built the prototype for me, and it was really rough. It looked like it was going to fall apart. But I was in the egg, and I remember that's when I realized the Syrians came through, and I cried this really strange cry. It was like, I was so happy to connect with them again, but I was so sad and I missed them so much. And they told me to contact my friend Douglas, and I said, okay, like I haven't talked to this guy for 6 years. So the phone calls like this. "Hey Doug, how you doing? Are you Syrian?" And he's like, "As a matter of fact, I am. Why do you ask?"
Well, I'm going to ask about the Syrian. Are you part of the water beings then on the Sirius?
I believe that I also had some time with Atlantis, and I was there working around Atlantis, and that's where I have, I think, a lot of the water connections.
Right.
I believe I was a Syrian or siren mermaid, and there's a lot of water connections. My boyfriend was definitely a Viking warrior. He looks the part, he acts the part, and I'm sure that's when we met. We also met on spaceships because I was a master geneticist. And my friend Douglas informed me that if he blew up out there, if I just had one cell, I could bring him back. And I did time and time again. My boyfriend was an engineer. So he started out as the Viking warrior. That's how I know where he started. I don't know what the previous is. And so he comes into this lifetime. Now, he was on ships with me and could fix any ship. Comes into this lifetime, spends 42 years in the Navy and loved every second of it. So he's on ships and on ships and on ships, from Viking ships to spaceships to Navy ships. But he doesn't think anything of it. He's like, "Oh, no, I'm not. You're all airy-fairy. You're granola. You're woo-woo." So I asked him one day, I said, "How do you, that he left the Navy and worked at the Sara Lee Bakery, industry." And I said, "So how come you're the only one that can fix that machine?" He goes, "I don't know." I said, "Well, what do you do?" He goes, "You just talk to it." And I'm woo-woo. So anyway, Douglas says, he always admired you on the spaceship because you're just this crazy person that would fix everybody. And, but he was always just kind of in the wings fixing the ship. But he said, if you were on a ship, you wanted Bill on the ship because he could fix any ship. When he comes into this lifetime, and they flew him all over the world because there were so many Navy ships that no one could fix, and they'd fly him from the US to Guam or to Bahrain or to wherever because he could fix them. And that's what I asked him. I said, so what was the trick? He goes, you just talk to them. They tell you what's wrong with them.
Well, I'm getting that both of you were on the Athena, and that would
Okay.
make sense because the Athena was where we had an area where we took care of people who were at war. A lot of soldiers, we came and fixed them, and I have done it's in my book, and I've done a whole show about how the process works. But that would make sense that both of you, that's where you would be because of what he did and what you do, because the Athena is where we put them all back together. And that would just make sense for you being a geneticist on that ship, and that he would be a warrior and also be able to repair the ships.
Yeah, that's funny. Well, let's go back to Douglas. So I asked Douglas if he was Syrian, and he said yes. I said, you got to come in and use this egg. He said, okay. So he came in, and that's when he said, yeah, this is definitely a Syrian technology. It goes very divine feminine. He said, and I don't want to lean back in the chair because you lean back in a zero gravity chair. But he said, I used to fly these things. So he used to fly these egg spaceships. He said, I just want to sit up. So as he was sitting up, he said it was the most divine feminine experience he's ever had in any lifetime he can remember, where these divine feminine Syrian beings were there, and they were just rubbing his cheeks and just loving on him. And he just absolutely loved it. But like I said, I've heard people who are Andromedan, their Andromedan guides come in, their Arcturian guides come in. I just haven't heard of Palladians coming in and helping people in the egg.
Oh, that's great. Anything else about your galactic connections?
I think I've always, you know how when you're born and, you open up a book and when you're born, but when you start to read and you get the answers.
Right.
I thought everybody did that because when you're 4 years old, 5 years old, 6 years old, you think, okay, everybody does this. So when I had the egg, they showed me when I was born. And so I'm in the hospital. My mom and dad are there. And I remembered being born. I remember my dad having this fear and this love. And I think that's when I smashed fear and love together, because my dad was like, oh my God, right? And there was something in the room above that rubbed their hands together and said, she's here. And I have no idea what that was about, but now people read my astrology chart. They say you're an ascended master. I'm like, I don't even know what that means, but people will meet me and they cry. And I was like, my sister, she's like, I shared a room with this girl. I think she picked her nose or whatever, it was like, whatever. And she's like, you're just my sister. And I said, I don't get it. So I always deter people. I'm like, no, don't act that way in front of me. But people have said you have to allow that because they're actually honoring the ascended master in you. So you have to.
It's comfortable, isn't it? I would say I call
Very
it
uncomfortable.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I'm here to help the humans, but I don't know how, don't bow down, don't cry, and it's just it is really uncomfortable, but I have to say that I have to honor the ascended masters. I have so many guides. I have so many, I do stupid things every day. And I was standing on this stool and I was like, I can't really reach that. So I'm just going to lean over instead of moving the stool. And I started falling. I would have hit cement hard and the stool just pops back up. I don't know how it happened. And I always go, thank you, because I was really dumb. Thank you for saving me. It happens way too often because I'm always trying to get as much done as I can, as quickly as I can. I need to slow down. But no, there's so many things that happen to me every day that is so otherworldly, so galactic, so beautiful, so loving, so supportive. I feel in so much gratitude. Even when I was running the center, for the longest time, I wasn't charging enough. I didn't know. I'm just going to charge the minimum price. Then when I got a financial guy, he said, you're losing money. I said, I am? He said, yeah. I said, oh, well, the money's always there. It just magically appears. And so I'm like, I'm a self-made millionaire and I was doing things and losing money. So how did that happen?
Yeah.
I'm like, my guides are amazing. And I believe that when we live in places of love and gratitude, things just work. We're in balance. The nervous system's in balance. We're here to have our best life. And we're here with all the stuff that we have called in with our soul contracts. But when we act in a way that is contradictory to what we're here for, then it's put on a shelf collecting dust. But when we open up our heart and we balance our body and we live in a place of love and gratitude, everything that's yours by divine right just flows in like crazy.
Yeah. So, all right, Teri, your turn. You have any questions?
Yeah. So when you started talking about your Andromedan guides coming in and talking to you, I started hearing this very high pitched voice. I don't know if that's them or not, but it's like a chorus of them that keep coming in. They won't stop.
I love them so much. They brought me a lady one time and she said, listen, the doctors say I don't have Lyme disease anymore, but I still have all the symptoms.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, okay, how are we going to figure this one out? So many people would come to me and it would be like, how are we going to figure this one out? So she goes in there and she said, what I saw was a blue tick in my brain, just energetic tick. It was just, and she said, it jumped out and it started running around inside the egg, and an Andromedan came in and chomped it up and it turned to dust. And she said she didn't have symptoms anymore. So emotionally, she still had these symptoms. So I sent her back to a DO doctor that I knew in town. And he said, yeah, medically, she didn't have it. Emotionally, she did. And the egg helped her to emotionally release that. And it's the same thing that we were talking about with the smells.
Right.
We associate a smell with something. We're like, oh, that means we're safe because we smelled fried chicken. No, it's still toxic. But emotionally, we're attracted to things, or emotionally, we're still feeling things that are nowhere in our physical.
Yeah.
Now, when I'm going to go back to the egg now. The egg, when people go in for the first time, or maybe the first couple of times, you have like a standard that you start everybody with. And can you talk a little bit about that?
Yes. So when you go into the egg for the first time, we have, 6 or 7 songs that are for autonomic nervous system reboots, because everybody needs to reboot the nervous system before they can start healing. And that's why you won't be putting on drumming or anything intense for the first few sessions, or maybe just the first session, depending on how your body reacts to it and what you have going on. So every time you come in, we are looking at real time. What do you want to work on? And we're trying to read your body language, trying to figure out, what is it that is the pain point for you at this moment. And we're going to pull back that layer of the onion. And then the next time you come in, so I don't feel like you're ever starting, you never go back to where you were. Once you have been in the egg, you're completely transformed on some level, DNA wise, nervous system wise, emotional. It's just transformational. So we always put you on an autonomic nervous system reboot, which is a variety of different songs, so that we can start to improve your autonomic nervous system. It's also called the vagus nerve, the nervous system, the HPA axis, kind of all the same. It's all connected to the spine, like Gail and Teri, you're nodding your head. And everything's connected to that.
Yeah.
So what we want to do is we want to increase that and help it come into balance. And I give the analogy of, you wouldn't run a marathon and, by just training, by running around the block once. You have to train. So you have to retrain the nervous system to stay in balance. And the more you do the retraining to keep it in balance, the easier it is when you get knocked out of balance to come back into balance, if that makes sense.
Yes, it does, because that's very similar to what we do chiropractically. We have to train the body to get rid of the subluxations and stay in the plate, and the bones to stay in their place for there not to be any pinching of the nerves, so they can the flow can go. So it's very similar to that. Is exercise, you build on each thing.
Yes, I absolutely love it. It's the most magical thing. I'm so grateful that I was able to bring it through. There's people like Daniel Brinkley who, brought through things, and other people who brought through things in a near-death experience. And, but if they speak to you and you don't take it on, they're just going to go to the next person, or someone else can grab that energy or that wisdom from the universe. I've had people come in and they're like, I had this idea and you did it. I'm like, I guess they passed by you and I am crazy enough to do it.
That's exactly right. Because for me, I was asked, would I do the work that I do? Would I work with the extraterrestrials? And I said yes. I don't know how many people they passed over before they found me to say yes. But I've said very often, if I hadn't have said yes, they'd have just passed me on and gone to the next person.
Exactly. It's all there to, either if they ask you or if you get the hit. I have so many questions for you, Gail, which I'll text you about, because I just love what you're doing. And I think I'm ready to meet them. Last night I was soaking in my hot tub and just looking at the stars, and I was like, okay, but don't scare me, right?
That's exactly what I used to say probably about 4 years ago. That's exactly what I said. I went, okay, I'm ready to meet you, but don't scare me.
Don't scare me, right?
And what they did was, I was at the dog park with my dog, and I was by myself, which was unusual. And two people came walking in, and they were brother and sister, and they were the oddest people ever. I did not connect to who they were at that time until the very next day that they actually sent me two extraterrestrials that didn't scare me. But my dog was acting differently. She was chasing the ball, which she never does, and bringing it back. And, and they were reading me telepathically on what I was accepting and what I wasn't. And it took all the way to the next day. And I went, you did exactly what I asked. You sent me two that did not scare me. And thank you, but they were still extremely odd and strange. and I couldn't get out here in the dog park for very long, because I was going, I don't know about these two. I think I'm going to leave.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. And then I wanted to ask you one other question. When you go on the ships and you have this time with them, does time exist? Or when you come back, has it been like a second or a minute?
It's existing at the same time I'm here most of the time. Now, it started when I was dreaming and then went to meditation, but it doesn't take me but just changing the frequency. Like, I know what's going on in the spaceship right now.
Okay.
But if I have to go up there and work, this physical 3D body has to be at rest, and I can go up there and work. But I'm very aware of both at the same time now.
Okay. Because I think that's my issue, is I'm never at rest. I'm always doing something, helping someone, doing, so I want to work on that.
But yeah, it started with, as I said, dream, because I had to go there first, and then meditation, where they took me then. But I was resting. And then after I developed that part of it, then it was like, I didn't. Getting in the car, because you're contained in a car and driving somewhere, that's a big time for them to, I'm captive audience at that time.
Right. Shower time for me, driving for me, because it's autopilot. I know where all my body parts are and I don't have to think about it. And then waking up, that hypnagogic state when you're waking up, that's the other time for me. But other than that, I'm going 3,000 miles an hour, and I'm trying better. I'm trying to do better at that.
Okay. Well, I don't know that that's going to really have that effect, because you do pick those times where you can connect. And that is the main thing, is that you have the specific times to connect. But we're running out of time here. Don't want to go over the hour. Gail, thanks for being here. And Teri, as always, thanks for being here. Any last words from either one of you?
This is one thing we didn't get into that I want to say. If you're going to reset your nervous system, we also have to start thinking about the medications that we're on, because they block the proper functioning of the nervous system. And I could go into an hour talk about that, and how the medications we're taking are depleting minerals from our body. And
I'd love to bring you on, and we do talk about that.
Yeah, let's do that. Yeah. I'm seeing so many people who are angry and hateful, and I think it has a lot to do with the depletion of the minerals from the meds, and then the blocking of the nervous system. So there's a lot of numb people walking around because it's too many meds.
Oh yeah. Anything, Teri?
Yeah. Does that have anything to do with your biome as well? Like, does that change that shifted?
Yes, the gut biome, the microbiome, and the bacteria will get killed by a lot of these meds as well. So you don't have that gut brain connection.
Yeah.
That's working.
And then does the frequency of the egg restore that?
It can, but when you go back into an environment of abuse, no matter how much you try to detox the abuse and you go back into it, so it'll help kind of maintain, but you gotta work on the root cause.
Yeah. We'll go more into that later.
Love it. Such an honor.
Yes, it's such an honor to have you here
It's so
again.
fun, you guys.
So excited to talk to you. But anyway, I'll let you end this, Teri. Let you have it.
Well, Gail, thank you. This was beautiful and helpful. What's one message that you want to leave with anyone who feels tired or hopeless right now?
Oh, gosh. I think stay in a place of love and gratitude. You will get through this. Our bodies are magical. We weren't put here to be miserable. We were put here to have this beautiful life. We just got to navigate around to figure it out.
Love it. Love it. All right. Well, thanks everybody for being here, and we'll see you later on Galactic Gaia. Bye-bye.